Good evening, and I'd like to welcome everybody to the West Milton Council meeting, March 13th, 2018. If I can have everybody please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and then remain standing for our invocation by Pastor Robbie Scott of the Huffman United Methodist Church. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let us pray. Holy God, we thank you for this day, for this time that we could peacefully assemble. We thank you for the leaders that are before us and for the leaders of our community all around us. And we thank you for living in a state in which the weather's never boring. We thank you, Lord, for this time that we could gather, that we could have representatives that look for the best interests of the citizens of West Milton. We ask, Lord, you bless this meeting with your grace, with your peace, and with your wisdom, that all decisions that are made will bless the citizens and honor you. We ask all your blessings upon this community to keep it free from the violence that we see happening all around our country. Bless our citizens to grow near to each other and to you. In Christ Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Thank you, Pastor Scott. At this time, I'd like to call the meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Mayor Miller,
Present.
Land,
Here.
Seacop is absent, Hurst,
Here.
Vogel,
Here.
Dorman,
Here.
and Greenidge is absent.
At this time, are there any motions to excuse absent council members?
I'd like to make a motion to excuse Councilwoman Kopp and Councilwoman Greenidge.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Land,
Yes.
Hurst,
Yes.
Vogel,
Yes.
Dorman,
Yes.
and Mayor Miller.
Yes. All right, both members have been excused for the evening. Moving on, approval of the minutes. Council should have received council meeting minutes for February the 13th and special council session on February the 27th. Are there any motions for those minutes?
Second.
And roll call, please.
Land,
Yes.
Hurst,
Yes.
Vogel,
Yes.
Dorman,
Yes.
and Mayor Miller.
Yes. At this time, during our last special council session on February the 27th, we decided to open up for a public meeting if there is any need for tonight's legislation regarding the ordinance for driveway and parking, CM-18-06. And since this is where we typically receive comments from citizens regarding tonight's legislation, we'll go ahead and open the floor for that. The other pieces of legislation on the agenda this evening is a resolution for the resurfacing program, a resolution for the Ohio Municipal Insurance Pool, and also a resolution for an OWDA loan. At this time, are there any comments from citizens? And sir, if I can have you just step to the podium and state your name and address, please.
Yes, my name is David Clausen. I live at 685 Winding Way. According to the ordinance, you're not allowed to park vehicles or trailers in your yard. This will be a problem for me because I do have a trailer. I do, during the wintertime, it's in the storage area. In the summertime, I use it off and on throughout the year. And there's times where if I'm going to be using it several days or the week, I park it beside my house on the grass.
Okay.
The way my lot is, I'm on a corner lot, or not a corner, but on a turn. So as my yard goes back, if I go straight back with my driveway to the side of my house, I'm going into my neighbor's yard. As far as putting some concrete or gravel or whatever.
Right.
But I'm able to kind of get my trailer in there on my property. And then when there's been times where I might have a vehicle that's needing repair. I don't want to sit out in the street for a month or two, because this past fall, I had a vehicle that broke down, and it took several months before I get warmed up enough for me to even work on it. So once I got the starter on it, I was able to take it out of the yard, and actually I gave it to my granddaughter. But in any case, I don't see a problem in my neighborhood anyway, where it's my yard. I should be able to park in the grass, not in a nice form, not necessarily just all over the place, but just next to the driveway or next to the house. That's my argument.
Okay. Well, thank you, sir. We do appreciate you coming in and having a conversation with us. I will start with saying the intention behind this ordinance is to keep vehicles from detracting from our town. I think that we have a really beautiful village. We're trying to improve that image. And part of the problem that we've noticed around town, we've received complaints. I've seen it myself, where vehicles are using their front yard as their primary source of parking. And so that was really the motivation behind the legislation. I know that you spoke about having a trailer. Last year, we actually passed legislation dealing with trailers, parking on the property at different locations. And I don't have a copy of that here with me right now, so I don't want to tell you something wrong. So I want to tell you something off the top of my head that would be incorrect. But
Can
Yes,
I
sir.
ask him a question?
yes,
Did you receive a letter recently about the trailers? About your trailer? No, okay.
okay.
Sorry.
No, thank you. So that might have already been addressed with that ordinance, where we have, correct me if I'm wrong, but where we've limited the parking of trailers to the back of the property.
Back or side of the
Yeah.
house. And it has to be on a paved surface. It's either got to be paved, concrete, blacktop, or
It can be a,
Stone.
yes, it
Dustless,
can be a crushed
compacted.
limestone as long as it's dustless.
Yeah. And so that language was passed last year to address trailers parking around town for the same reason. We just had trailers parking, all over the properties and that kind of stuff. So trying to address that, so that language is already on the books. So that limits the parking of trailers already. So we, well,
we had several
There-
public hearings.
many.
We had them at workshops. It was advertised. We had a select few folks that had recreational vehicles, boats, trailers, what have you, that attended the meetings and voiced their concern. And we talked through it. There were some changes that came about from the discussion with the people within the village. So we did open it up, and we had it out there. I think, if I'm not mistaken, we had 2 public hearings that we discussed that
I
at
thought
workshop,
3.
or maybe 3.
3, and it took us several months,
Well, I bet we worked on that for
6 months.
6 months or better of, yeah, and so we did listen to community input, we welcomed. So we put it out on social media, on our Facebook, the city's Facebook. All the meetings are announced on there, on our bulletin board out front. And then all of our meetings are held on the 2nd and 4th Tuesdays here at 7:30 p.m. So it's been advertised.
So we don't get to put any cars in our yard, overnight?
It's temporary for moving, so if you're moving in and out of the property, so if you're unloading a moving truck or something along those lines for temporary purposes, and then during times of inclement weather, so snowstorms or something like that, so that the streets are clear for plow trucks to get past.
So you can temporarily park in your front lawn, correct? I mean, like if we've got a bunch of people over at my mom's house and she lives on a cul-de-sac, sometimes we have to park in her side yard and we're gonna be there all day doing yard work and stuff. That's something like that's okay?
I
It
believe that's
specifically
in-
says in section 1, paragraph 2, this section shall not apply during times of emergency due to acts of nature or during the time that a resident is in the process of moving in or out of the premises.
Well, I mean, because sometimes I back my truck up to her spouting and that's how I clean her spoutings out. They have to get in her yard, so, but I don't, what's the penalty for something like that?
Fourth degree.
Fourth,
Read it?
yeah, please.
Except as otherwise provided in this division, whoever violates this section is guilty of a minor misdemeanor. If within 1 year of the offense, the offender previously has been convicted of or pled guilty to one predicate motor vehicle or traffic offense, whoever violates this section is guilty of a misdemeanor in the 4th degree. If within 1 year of the offense, the offender previously has been convicted of 2 or more predicate motor vehicle or traffic offenses, whoever violates this section is guilty of a misdemeanor in the 3rd degree.
It starts with a conversation or a letter. You don't come home with a ticket or a fine. It's not meant to persecute or punish residents. It's just to keep some orderly use of our properties and how it affects our neighbors and the community as a whole.
So basically, people just parking their junk in their front lawn and leaving it.
That's generally what comes to the attention and gets a letter after a conversation fails and so on. But so far, we've gotten pretty good response from just conversations or a letter that sparks a conversation.
Okay.
And before, it was on a complaint basis, and now we've had so many people come up to us at workshops, at council meetings, asking what we're doing to clean up town, to clean up West Milton, because they say, it looks trashy. So what we did was, we talked about it at one of our budget meetings, and we added extra money in our budget last year, and the city manager was able to hire an enforcement officer that will assist with doing this. So that's how we're able to enforce our ordinances. Because if not, it solely relies on the city manager, and he's too busy on every day-to-day operations that he has going on within the village. He just could not do that on a daily basis, going around checking who was violating those ordinances. So, I don't know if you want to say anything else.
Well, you gave an example if you had a party. The reality of every ordinance is if you're abusing your privilege to live in that lot. So someone's parked in the front yard for a period of a week or something like that, we're going to see it or we're going to get complaints. And it's really always been complaint driven. So even this ordinance was created because we've received numerous complaints from neighbors whose other neighbors are parking their vehicles in a yard. If you have a party on a Saturday and you park cars in the yard, the reality of it is probably no one's going to call and complain to the police officer over the weekend, and those cars aren't going to be there on a Monday.
Right.
So I don't want to say, can you park in your yard? Well, you have to follow the ordinance, but the reality of it is the code enforcement officer or myself or a police officer is not going to stop you on a Saturday to tell you can't have a party and they need to park up the street. I mean, that's just reality. That's
Well, I live across the
just
street
reality.
from Dave, and I'd much rather him put his trailer next to his house than on the street.
Right.
If he's gonna be doing lawns all day, I'd rather him have his.
Yeah, the trailer-
Secure next to his house.
Trailer's a different ordinance that the mayor mentioned, and it does require not to be allowed to be parked on grass, because And how did that come about? Because we were having a lot of trailers, a lot of RVs is what we were finding, a lot of RVs and boats. And the grass was just growing, you know, not everyone uses their RV every day. So it was just growing up. And it was making the neighborhood look bad.
And that came on the heels of our junk vehicle ordinance too, which addressed the fact that some of those trailers and campers, last sticker on the tag was 1983. And, you know, they clearly hadn't moved or were capable of being moved, and you know, just a long time coming with people's opinions on that. But since we have a crowd full of seniors here and it is approaching graduation time, you know, I would say parking in a yard to unload gifts would count. You know, so bring a gift.
That's usually an envelope full of money. That's what they don't want a gift, they want money.
A card
The
counts.
ordinance says you're unloading and loading, so.
Yeah, it doesn't say it has to be big.
Right.
Does that kind of, Mr. Glosson, does that kind of answer your questions? Is
Yes.
that- Okay. Thank you for getting up here and speaking.
There you go. You need a load of gravel.
Watch your easement.
Is there any other comments regarding any other legislation this evening? All right, seeing none, we'll move on to ordinances and resolutions. The first one is CM-18-06, an ordinance driveways and parking. Ms. Brosh.
It's an ordinance amending section 76.04, parking prohibitions, and section 152.19, street driveway entrances of the West Milton Code of Ordinances.
Thank you. Being that it's the second reading, we only read the title. We've read the entire language at our last meeting. Should anybody be curious or would like a copy of the language,
It's right there.
we do have a copy of it down there on the desk, and we'll be able to, we'd be happy to provide anybody that would want to come in to see that language as well. At this time, are there any motions for the 18-06?
I'd like to make a motion to approve CM 18-06 ordinance for driveways and parking.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Land,
No.
Hurst,
Yes.
Vogel,
Yes.
Dorman,
Yes.
and Mayor Miller.
Yes. All right. Second on the agenda, 18-09, a resolution for the 2018 resurfacing program. Ms. Brosh.
It's a resolution to award a contract for the 2018 resurfacing program. Whereas the 2018 resurfacing program for the municipality of West Milton has been properly bid according to Chapter 33 of the Code of Ordinances. And whereas the 2018 budget included $105,000 for the resurfacing program. And whereas the bidding process produced an acceptable contractor to perform the resurfacing program. Now therefore be it resolved by the Council of the Municipality of West Milton, Ohio, that Section 1, the council awards a contract to Wagner Paving Incorporated of Laura, Ohio, in the amount not to exceed $72,620.75. Section 2, the municipal manager is hereby authorized to execute all the proper documents and contracts required to complete said program. Section 3, this resolution shall take effect and be enforced from and after its passage.
Mr. Klein?
This is our regular resolution that establishes our paving program for the year. This year, unfortunately, it's only two streets, Yount Road and Forest Avenue. It's finishing off Forest Avenue where we had that CDBG grant on the far west end. When you hear the legislation that says 105 was budgeted, the bids came in at 72, so we're well under budget. Actually, there was going to be a two-part program this year. We were also planning on doing some neighborhood streets in a program called micro resurfacing. These bids actually came in a little bit higher than we had anticipated, but we will be rebidding, or we will be bidding out the micro surfacing probably in another 6 to 8 weeks. We have the money, and what's the issues? The issues of both Yount and Forest has a terrible base. So the rebasing is a lot heavier than we had anticipated when we put the budget together back in October, November. So, but we'll make it happen.
Has there been any determination on what streets or what areas they're looking at for the micro resurfacing?
We're going to micro resurface, the intentions were what's called the Dewar Plat and Stone Meadows. So we're going to bid everything out, so it all depends on how much former Mayor Fogel bribes Ben, so to get which plot.
Which one he wants to?
Exactly.
Depends which neighborhood is the best economical wise.
Thank you. Are there any motions for the resolution?
Make a motion, we accept resolution CM-18- was it 10?
Oh, no.
9.
9, as written.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Land,
Yes.
Hurst,
Yes.
Vogel,
Yes.
Dorman,
Yes.
and Mayor Miller.
Yes. Moving on to CM-18-10, which is a resolution to renew the self-insurance pool. Ms. Brosh.
It's a resolution to authorize the municipal manager to renew insurance with the Ohio Municipal Joint Self-Insurance Pool. Whereas the municipality of West Milton, Ohio has been a member of the Ohio Municipal Joint Self-Insurance Pool since 1989, and whereas the insurance is due for renewal effective April 1st, 2018. Now therefore be it resolved by the Council of the Municipality of West Milton, Ohio, that Section 1, the council hereby authorizes the municipal manager to execute the proper contractual documents to renew said insurance with the Ohio Municipal Joint Self-Insurance Pool for a policy term of 3 years, from April 1st, 2018 to March 31st, 2021, for all coverages at a rate of $61,754, plus or minus exposure changes. Section 2, this resolution shall take effect and be enforced from and after its passage.
Thank you. Manager Klein.
Again, housekeeping, basically. We do have always done a 3-year contract. I mean, that's what's always offered to us. We have been with the pool since 1989. Our experiences have been very positive. This is reflecting just about a 2% increase from what we were paying last year. But I would like to have everyone keep in mind, it includes a couple new vehicles. And we did add, we always do a review of everything. And I felt that a couple of our buildings were a little low. We have replacement coverage. So we tweaked those up just a little bit. So the 2% basically reflects that.
Okay. Thank you. At this time, are there any motions for 18-10?
I make a motion to accept CM-18-10.
Second?
Roll call, please.
Land,
Yes.
Hurst,
Yes.
Vogel,
Yes.
Dorman,
Yes.
and Mayor Miller.
Yes. And the final one for this evening is 19 dash, that should be an 18, is it?
It's 18 on here, it's 19 on here.
18-11.
Oh.
A resolution for an OWDA loan. Ms. Brosh.
It's a resolution to authorize the municipal manager to apply for, accept, and enter into a cooperative agreement for the refurbishing of the South Water Tower between the municipality of West Milton and the Ohio Water Development Authority. Whereas the municipality of West Milton needs to paint, repair, and refurbish the South Water Tower to maintain the health of the water system. And whereas the municipality of West Milton desires to obtain a loan from the Ohio Water Development Authority, hereinafter referred to as the OWDA, to finance the cost of the project on the terms set forth in the cooperative agreement defined below. And whereas the OWDA has indicated its willingness to make a loan for that purpose and on those terms. Now therefore be it resolved by the Council of the Municipality of West Milton, Ohio, that Section 1, the council authorizes the municipal manager and the finance director to execute the cooperative agreement with the OWDA substantially in the form set forth in Exhibit A.
Section 2, the council acknowledges that all formal actions related to the passage of this resolution was passed in an open meeting of council in compliance with all legal requirements, including Section 121.22 of the Ohio Revised Code. Section 3, this resolution shall take effect and be in full force from and after its passage.
Thank you. Manager Klein?
You'll recall that we refurbed and repainted the north tower. We started that process with a very similar resolution on getting a loan from OWDA for that tower back in late summer, early fall. Then subsequent to that, then the tower was refurbed and repainted, and we council passed an ordinance that set the revenues starting in January for that payback. Our first payment will be in January of next year. We had very favorable rates. It was a 10-year loan, $300,000 at 0.65%. I'm anticipating, nothing has changed, so I'm anticipating, you have a copy of the cooperative agreement. It's the exact cooperative agreement. It's the standard OWDA cooperative agreement. The only thing in the very back is not the term sheet. The term sheet is, I'm hoping, is going to be another 0.65. It might have gone up a little bit. Nothing's changed on our end. Our water rates are the same, and our household income is the same, essentially. So I'm anticipating a good rate on the term. The board requires a resolution for authorization. It would either, I wanted to get it in the March because it wouldn't get into April. If we did it in April, then we actually wouldn't see the money until May. So that's why we put it on the agenda for tonight.
Thank you. Matt, is there, for passing it now, do you have a timeline for when the repairs would start on the south tower then?
I'm hoping, well, Horizon Brothers has already contacted us.
Okay.
As soon as the weather got real nice, and then all of a sudden it's gotten cold again.
Yeah.
The tower does have to maintain at least a 50-degree temperature for them to do the job. So do I know April? Yeah, I mean, when weather breaks.
Okay, thank you. And can you tell me, is the condition of the south tower
It's in
about the
worse,
same?
it's in
Is it
worse shape
worse?
than the north tower was.
Okay,
But we did the north tower first because it is the most vital of the two towers.
right. Thank you.
What was the discussion on the water study we were having done as to it came back that we did need the south tower?
Yes. The water model study is not quite complete officially. We do have a draft. They're waiting to do one more PSI test across the bridge. Everything has been repaired and ready to go. We're just waiting for the firm to come back. But essentially, the firm's water model shows that we do need the south tower. Yes. The last little bit of information is what we're really gathering is the sizing of the pump station to go up the hill.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
At this time, are there any motions for 18-11?
Make a motion to approve CM 18-11.
Second.
Take your pick, either one of them. They both said second.
Oh, you both of you did? That's why I couldn't figure out which one.
Sounds good.
Okay, thanks.
Roll call, please.
Land,
Yes.
Hurst,
Yes.
Fogel,
Yes.
Dorman,
Yes.
and Mayor Miller.
Yes. Thank you.
Thanks.
Moving on to the manager's report.
Thank you, Mayor, Council, guests this evening. Welcome, everyone. If it's all right with the mayor, I'd like to start off, we have an unordinary amount of correspondence that came to, for council. We typically do not get this many correspondence, but we did receive them, and I just wanted to make some announcements. We did receive a letter from Vectren that's basically giving us information that they are making an application for a rate adjustment to the PUCO. Anybody wishing to see the letter, we can make copies for you. It's basic, they are required by law when they do make a request for a rate adjustment that they do have to make an announcement and make it public. So that's, should all have a copy of that. It's a letter that really, as of right now, doesn't affect West Milton, but we did get a letter from the Ohio Casino Control Commission. That's what you have that. And they made some 28 administrative rule changes when it comes to what they call skill-based amusement machines. I've never played one, so I don't know, but I've seen them in, I've seen the outsides, storefronts in towns. We don't have any, but it's an announcement that they've made these changes and that they are conducting educational seminars throughout the state. And it comes with a little flyer telling you when, where, and how they'll be doing that. And finally, there are two pieces of correspondence that we did receive from the Miami County Auditor's Office that does require council action. About every year, we usually receive one or two of these. They are what's called those who can qualify for agricultural district pieces of land, farms, essentially, can apply for at special rate through the auditor's office. This year we have two. They are 5-year terms in length. This year there's two of them. 990 South Miami Street, owned by Philip Wilson. It's 20.34 acres. And then there's also 4320 State Route 48, which is owned by Ty Hissong, which is approximately 8.07 acres. Now, that is a township address, but the back half of that farm, those 8 acres, are in town. Basically, what the auditor is required to give us notification during this process. Council can do basically one of three things. They can, it can all be done by a voice vote. It's is to let the auditor know that it's being accepted, that it's being rejected, or it's been modified. Now, you'd have to reject it or modify it based on showing that there was some sort of adverse effect for us providing municipal services that would affect the health, welfare, and safety of the village. So I can't think of anything that of these two properties that would manage. Now, if you don't want to vote on it at all, the auditor still approves these, but it's a courtesy and also a requirement by ORC that it goes to each municipality.
Very good. Thank you. At this time, are there any motions regarding the agricultural district applications?
I'd like to make a motion to accept the agriculture district applications, the two that were discussed at South Miami Street and at State Route 48.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Linda, I'll need to get your signature on these before we leave today. Just a couple other items. Our collections agency, CCA, will be providing 3 days worth of assistance to resident tax filers if they would like some assistance in filing their local taxes. Taxpayers may attend any of the following dates. It will be Saturday, March 24th. And that is by appointment only. And then Wednesday, March 28th, and Thursday, March 29th, from 11 in the morning till 3 in the afternoon. Anybody wishing to make that appointment for that Saturday can just call City Hall here and we'll give you the number. I can give you the number now if you'd like to write it down, which is area code 937-227-1359. Again, it's Saturday, March 24th. And then again on Wednesday and Thursday, March 28th and March 29th. Just to give you some updates, we have closed, last Friday was our last day of taking orders for the Hometown Hero Banners project that we have annually. Pleased to announce we had another 38 applications. That brings our total to 182 Hometown Hero Banners. The oldest ones being, this will be their 5th year up, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. Of course, we make sure that they are still in good shape and good condition. As of right now, they still are. And they'll be you'll see our Ben's Men putting them up probably a week or two before, or by Memorial Day, so late May.
Very good.
Sorry. A couple other items that have been requested. Everyone's always asking me what's going on with Stillwater Crossings. Just a small update. The plan itself, in our ordinance, we have what's called a preliminary plan and a final plan. The preliminary plan has already been approved. Final plan technically is what you do. The final plan has to basically follow the preliminary plan. But now it gets into the nitty-gritty of really what they're doing is creating new lots and making legal descriptions of those lots. I'm anticipating that process to start. Hopefully we'll have, they're under orders to give it to me before our workshop, so you'll have a chance to take a look at it. It will need planning commission approval. It's called the final plan, but basically what you're doing is approving the lot splits. And then it will come to our council for an April 10th meeting as well. Everyone keeps asking me when, just because they haven't broken ground, it's not going to happen. That's not the case. These are all legal requirements. I can't sell Bob land unless I have a legal description. So this is what the final plan is to split that part off. Sorry to pick on you, Bob. But if you want to build out there, I've got great land out there. I'm telling everyone that they'll have groundbreaking by June because they keep telling me it's going to be May. So it's been my experience, it's always a few weeks later, right? It has been. A couple other things that I've been getting a lot of emails, phone calls about, just people curious as to what's going on. And that is three different things. One is the old Dollar General building. I can say that the old Dollar General building has been purchased and is going to be the new home of an O'Reilly Auto Parts. The parking lot, they're going to actually redo the parking lot. Those plans have already been approved. We have approved the new signs that will be at that location. So everything that is our required approvals have been done. I do not know when they're going to open. They do own the building. They have, like I said, have all the other approvals from us, so you'll probably start seeing some work there, I'm anticipating. So the old Dollar General is going to be an O'Reilly Auto Parts. The one that everyone's more curious about is Mr. Deals. I know as much as everybody else does here, probably. I've been told by those that there's someone has put an offer on the table and the sign out front says sale pending. No one has called me, so I have no idea what's going on. I know there's a sale pending, so I assume Michelle, she's the agent, so she put the sale pending up, so she probably knows, but I've not talked to Michelle. And then finally, I just learned this afternoon, everyone keeps asking me what's going on with the car wash, because the car wash bays have been closed for a long time. It's my understanding that many of them are not operational. However, having said that, we did learn, how do I say this? We noticed there were some people out and about around the building, so our police officers stopped, and we found out it's the new owners. So the old car wash has been purchased. The new owners are checking it out and trying to get everything operational as soon as possible. So they plan on cleaning it up and getting everything operational as quickly as possible. So I just learned that this afternoon before the meeting, that car wash has been sold. So I believe that's all I have for this evening, Mayor.
Very good. Thank you, sir.
Mayor Klein, you want to say something about the Meet the Candidate Night, since that's coming up next month?
Actually, I'm going to let the mayor do that. He's got some announcements, although I just,
Got a list.
I forgot to write this down late this afternoon. I did get a call from Kim Wolf, the owner of the newest business, Marmy's Pantry. She explained to me that, and she asked me to share this with council and the public. Marmy's opened on Saturday. We had a ribbon cutting ceremony and a welcoming to our newest business. when she got her licensing through the health department in the county, she specifically asked, do I need to have a mop sink and a three sink? And they asked her, are you having any produce or anything that you're going to be washing food? She said, no, it's all dry goods, which several of you were there, can attest it's all dry goods. The health department came today, an inspector, and said you have to have a slop sink and a 3-bay sink. So she has to be shut down until the plumber puts these in. She's anticipating probably about 2 weeks. And she asked me, please let everyone know I've got a clean store. The left hand told me one thing and the right hand just told me something else. So Marmy's will be reopening, she's hoping in 2 weeks when she gets her sinks in. So that's all it is.
Very good. Thank you. Moving on, is there any old business? No. I have a few items that I was going to touch on this evening for our new business. First one is Councilmember Fogel discussed. There's a Meet the Candidate night. It is being, Union Township is hosting it, and we're actually providing the location and the audiovisual equipment. So it'll be here at the council chambers, hosted by Union Township on April the 18th at 6 p.m. So I would really encourage everybody to come out, learn who's running for what office, get to meet them, talk to them, ask them what their point of view is on topics. So that's it's always a good thing to get involved in. Since we have a captive audience this evening, I really would encourage everybody out there that you guys show up and don't be shy about asking questions. So
Actually, Mayor, is
yeah.
Morgan and Abby here? Those young ladies will be the MCs,
Very
asking the questions and keeping time on the candidates and for that evening.
Very good. Well, we're glad to see that. Thank you. The second thing that I wanted to bring up is the school is hosting a mental health event with a national speaker. His name is Ross, and forgive me, I believe it's Zabo. That is going to be hosted at the elementary gymnasium on March 26th from 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. We had a meeting with the school board and the township a couple weeks ago, and we discussed just some of the challenges that kids in the community, all communities face with mental health. And so we're really looking forward to that event. I think that that's going to be a good thing. Hearing somebody at that level that can bring some ideas for that discussion. And then finally, something else that we discussed during that meeting was school bus safety. And I can't speak for all of the township, but I can speak for everybody here in West Milton, that we would encourage all drivers as they encounter a school bus with the lights flashing to please stop. Don't try to pass. The last thing that anybody would want is to have a child injured from an accident or an accident with a school bus. So there's been a few incidents here lately where the school said that they've been having problems with people trying to pass school buses with the lights on. So I just encourage anybody, whenever you see the lights on, the stop sign out, please heed those warning signs. So thank you. That's all the new business that I have. Is there any other?
I just have one update that I found out last week. We had a meeting with Jack Scudmore. He's the lead for the 4th of July celebration again this year in West Milton. So we walked through everything. They're sitting really good this year with their funding, but by law and by regulation, someone has to man the PA system down in the park during the time that the Fun Time Entertainment is, has the rides going. And this year, since the 4th of July is on a Wednesday, they are going to be down there for 6 days. So they're going to start on Friday, June the 29th from 6 to 10, Saturday, June the 30th from 3 to 10, Sunday, July the 1st from 3 to 10, the 2nd and 3rd of July, which is Monday and Tuesday, 6 to 10, and the 4th of July, which is Wednesday, from 12 to 10. So ultimately, someone needs to, or some organization or group needs to man that PA system for those times. And there is no way in the world, like Jack said, that, you know, he and his wife could, you know, take that on for those 6 days. Now, I know that the Girl Scouts have done it in the past, and they might entertain doing some of it, but probably can't do all of it. So if anyone from the school, students, if you know any organization or anyone else out there knows a church, they can charge a certain amount for announcements within the PA system, that type of thing. Last couple of years during the 4th of July, folks have done karaoke and different things that kind of generate some activity with the PA system. But the big thing is, by law, during the time that the Fun Time Entertainment is down there, that PA system has to be manned. So just wanted to throw that out there. If anybody has any interest, please let me know, or contact Matt Klein here at the city building, and then we'll get in touch with Jack. So,
Can we just make a motion to nominate Abby Morgan? Just a thought.
Thank you. Any other old business? Okay. Are there any comments by citizens this evening? Seeing none. I would like to say, I would encourage all the TV audience to stay tuned. We have a special event this evening where we are hosting the West Milton Senior Class mock council meeting. That's going to be televised here. We're going to keep it on camera. We're going to take a brief intermission here, reset, and get all the students up here and get them ready. And so I'd encourage all the TV audience, stay tuned. As for our meeting, are there any motions?
would like to make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We're adjourned. Thank you.
Evening, everyone, and welcome to the Milton Union AP Government Senior Council meeting. I would like everybody to stand up for the pledge and the invocation from Chris, please. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Lord, please bless this council with his wisdom and for guidance, that we might be able to make good decisions today for the betterment of our community and the safety of our citizens. Amen.
Thank you, Chris. All right, roll call, please.
Brock?
Here.
Mayor Brown?
Here.
Brown?
Here.
Dorman? Here. Farmer?
Here.
Magel?
Here.
Moore?
Here.
Everybody is here.
All right, thank you. I would like to open the floor to comments from the citizens regarding tonight's legislation over West Milton's legislation, I guess. Any comments? All right, seeing there are none, I would like to proceed to old business. The discussion regarding West Milton's CM 1806 front yard parking.
Where it seems that most of that was covered in the meeting that happened just beforehand. I would like to make a proposal to just move on.
All right, someone want to make a motion?
I'll motion.
That was easy. All right, moving on to new business. The discussion of CM 18, the ordinance of traffic safety recommendations.
It is an ordinance regarding traffic safety and road survivability for West Milton, Ohio. Whereas the Milton Union AP Government Senior Council, in review of hazardous driving conditions within the municipality of West Milton, Ohio, has identified the intersection of South J Street, West Market Street, Stillwater Street, and South J Road, as well as the intersection of West North Street with North Miami Street as potentially dangerous routes, and whereas the Milton Union AP Government Senior Council has received many complaints and suggestions on these two issues and how to allay the threat thereof. Now therefore be it ordained by the Milton Union AP Government Senior Council that, Section 1, Council hereby proposes that a four-way stop be installed at the intersection of South J Street, West Market Street, Stillwater Street, and South J Road in accordance with the Ohio Manual of Uniform Traffic Control Devices, Section 2B.07, as well as Section 1505-2 of the Traffic Engineering Manual. Section 2. Council hereby proposes that the West North Street be made into a one-way street in accordance with Section 4511.32 of the Ohio Revised Code. Section 3. This ordinance shall take effect immediately after the second reading and approval by council.
All right. So this was, as discussed by the senior class over time, that we thought that those intersections, the intersection of South J Street, West Market Street, Stillwater Street, and South J Road have been seen multiple times as dangerous. That's why the mirror was installed there, which has been previously crashed into and taken down. And so we thought it would be a lot better to follow the guidelines of the Traffic Engineering Manual following 1505-2, which was in the frequently asked questions category, suggesting that, if I can find this paper, I'm apologizing. A multi-way stop application must have the need to control left turn conflicts, the need to control vehicle pedestrian conflicts near locations that generate high pedestrian volumes, C, locations where a road user after stopping cannot see conflicting traffic and is not able to negotiate the intersection unless conflicting cross traffic is also required to stop. And D, an intersection of two residential neighborhood collector through streets of similar design and operating characteristics where multi-way stop control would improve traffic operational characteristics of the intersection. We believe that it follows most of those guidelines, and that a four-way stop should be available to be put in. On top of that, the North Street, I have misplaced my legislation for 4511.32, but the internet does provide. So, that is the end of that.
Personally, I know that whenever I pull up to the stop, I believe it's, what is it? South J Street. Whenever I'm pulling up to that stop to make even a left turn is very dangerous because of that fence along the left side. I cannot see around it unless I pull almost into the intersection. The mirror was very helpful, but considering, as John said, it was previously removed by a car, a stop should be put in place just because of the dangers of incoming traffic, increasing their speed back up to 50 after they have turned from that left turn, the curve on that road.
I have a comment about section 2. If for the West North Street made into a one-way, if that's not able to be done, at least extending the parking. The issue is there's an obstruction of sight due to Skipper's building. So making a right-hand turn onto West North Street is very difficult due to the parking from Skipper's. It's dangerous if there's both cars coming. You cannot see a car making a right turn onto West North Street.
I just have a question. City manager, what would you propose we do considering the parking issue and this legislation considering we're trying to pass? What are your suggestions we do?
I suggest that we move forward with the proposal unless many other extenuating circumstances are found that would make this a danger or a major inconvenience.
I have a question on section 2. If it is made into a one-way street, which direction is that one-way going to be?
West.
For people that don't know the directions, it's going towards Main Street.
The sun at night.
So looking at that, if putting a one-way versus, as Alex was proposing, like extending the no parking zone, if we made it a one-way, that would allow for actually more parking for the Skipper's building, so it would be more likely that we wouldn't have opposition from business. So, to consider.
Any other comments? Okay. Anybody want to make a motion to pass this legislation? Oh, yeah, go ahead. I apologize.
Scott Hurst. I live at 808 South J Street, and 2 years ago, it was actually the intersection at J and Stillwater that got me interested in joining and becoming part of the council. And the fact that you guys brought it up, and I had nothing to do with this, I promise you. This was organic and all on its own. I just want to say that thank you guys. It's still an issue that has been brought up in the past. The North has been brought up at least 3 years in a row that there was an issue there, mainly with the parking and not being able to see when turning out onto Main Street. So you guys sounded like you guys really got together and looked at how to fix things, not just telling council that there was a problem, but actually looked into how to fix a problem, and I just think that's great, and you guys keep up the good work. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? Okay, seeing as there is none, anyone want to make a motion to pass this ordinance?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
Okay.
Brock,
Yes.
Mayor Brown,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Dorman,
Yes.
Farmer,
Yes.
Nagel,
Yes.
and Moore.
Yes.
So now moving on to this discussion of future West Milton.
Open the floor to council to.
Yeah. Anyone want to start?
I'll start. One of the big things talking about is increasing activity in the park and different things with that, which many people are going to expand upon. One of the biggest things I feel that's necessary for that to happen and for things to expand with that is improvement of the bathrooms. Because if we want to increase use of our park and different activities at our park, they need to be open more frequently and better maintained, so that we have the opportunity to host different things down in the park and build involvement.
The issue with that, as the council last meeting brought up, was, vandalism. So I totally agree with you. We need to refurbish the bathrooms. We need to be able to have an actual area for people to use the facilities. But the issue arises, what are citizens gonna do when, as, kids are, they like to do things they're not supposed to. So, what happens when a child vandalizes the bathrooms? That's the problem that arises.
I think you're going to run into a little bit of that issue at all times. I think part of that is the part two of the reason behind that you would refurbish the bathrooms and stuff. Morgan also discussed having better outlets for teenage students and different activities to do that allow for a better outlet of energy and stuff like that doesn't create vandalism or immoral activity and stuff within the community. Would you like to touch on that further?
Yeah, I'd like to add on that. There's a lot of involvement of things for younger kids around West Milton than there is for really our age group nowadays. And I know that may be not specifically, there's just certain groups that tend to touch more with the younger kids than with the older kids. And not having the older kids being interactive in town makes people spread out into their own, sometimes different paths that don't follow so much on, oh, I'm not going to vandalize a bathroom just for the fun of it. So, yeah.
I'd like to make a comment. In other parks, there are public bathrooms that are permanent, and they aren't vandalized. And seeing how we can observe how others have taken this into effect and how what they've done with it.
So our biggest problem with that is manpower. In my discussion with City Manager Klein, he spoke of how there's not enough people that are on the staff of water treatment, whatever that stuff is, to work through and have someone hired on the bathrooms for nights and all that to keep things going. So the best idea for that would be to attract business into the concession stand, and that would give someone that could run the restrooms and all of that. And I believe in the discussion we talked about how you were saying you'd let them keep gross income and do anything you could to just attract business because it's just good for the park.
Good job.
I know discussion with certain council members, including other different activities in the park and stuff like that, and even the canoe business. I was wondering if different activities like that were expanded upon, if that would be the people we could ask to maintain the restrooms and stuff, and looking towards that as well as looking for things for older kids to do in our community.
Any other business?
I have one question
Yeah.
for you guys. You guys have brought up how to, that you want to attract kids of your age. What would something like that look like to you?
Zip line.
A zip line through the Milton Park would be great.
I was thinking a zip line.
Yeah.
Got lots of
Yeah,
those
go
over
ahead.
there.
Well, I have an idea. I knew you guys discussed last meeting, the bike trail. I guess it was written down. I think it'd be a great way to attract some people. I mean, people can run through town, stuff like that, and you stop into the restroom be used, stuff like that. And I think it'd be a good way to get more people in the West Milton, I guess, kind of in a sort of way.
Yeah.
One thing that was discussed, someone talked about like allowing the park to host like a concert, whether it be like a small local, band that's trying to get, off the ground, and that also, supporting more local individuals. But that's something that would definitely be in tune with an older crowd. Hosting, I feel like a type of festival or whatnot. I was talking to people about the idea of a disc golf tournament and whatnot, and bringing in vendors and stuff like that. I think that would be a really neat thing to do, and other different things like that. So small business involvement can be used in that, as well as getting people out into the parks. I know that the new playground equipment, I feel like since I've been down there, there's a lot more people visiting the park, and it's definitely increases the park's usability to the public.
And I feel like as we attract more people to the park, it will discourage others from vandalizing. There being more attention and more population down at the park, there's less free time for people to do things like vandalize.
One point I would like to bring up, one of the questions I've been asked frequently is what new business are we going to bring into town? The council before us brought up O'Reilly's, and they aren't sure what they're going to do with Mr. Deals. But even just in other parts of town, and even in Stillwater Crossing, what kind of new business? I know you guys get the question all the time, is there going to be a new Taco Bell? Is there going to be a Taco Bell? But what other than Taco Bell are we going to bring in? What are some suggestions? What would, as Morgan said, what would help, older teens as our age? What would attract them towards that? What would bring in more people? What would bring in new business? So what are some of your thoughts on that?
I think, speaking maybe for us as teens, the type of late night open place, Steak and Shake is a popular thing, going to Troy or whatnot, or even me and my friends have developed Jim's Donuts, because it's open 24 hours and it's all the late night type of. So I feel like some place that's open later that has that same go grab food type thing.
Mm-hmm.
It definitely relates to high school students, and can create a place to go that isn't keeping people out of trouble or whatnot, going different other places.
Oh, one idea I thought of, things like a skate rink. We had the bowling alley. Things like a skate rink could attract anyone from any age, from a young child to an adult, and everybody in between. That's a very popular idea. There's not one in the nearby vicinity, so that would be a good idea to try and bring people of West Milton together.
Yeah, even new people.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think a coffee shop would be a nice little addition, because we had the Brick House Cafe, which was nice, but it hasn't been here for a while. And the new bakery, they do sell coffee, but not as much. And I know, like, personally, I'll go to, like, different coffee shops to sit down with friends and have, like, a nice discussion. Maybe you can go there, like, do homework. So I think a little cafe would be a good addition, especially for, like, teenagers our age.
Another thing, it's a little bit more for younger age, but the idea of doing a sprinkler park or like a splash pad type of thing. There's one over in Union, but I think that is something that's very neat. And it's not the full scale of, like having a city pool, but it still is a fun summer activity.
I do believe they were thinking about doing that when they had bought out the old school. They called it the old school park or something like that. Were you guys thinking of doing that? Something like that, the splash pad?
There were several features. There was a butterfly garden, a splash pad, and walking paths.
Okay.
So, and playgrounds and stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, it was one of the ideas out there.
Do you have any future plans for that?
The school owns that.
Well, not for the property, but for just any, new parks or adding to it or.
Right now, no, we're still working on finishing the park. So when the weather breaks, I believe that they're gonna be working on, finishing up, the playground area. There's gonna be a concrete slide that goes in there, and some other, landscaping.
Okay.
So, and then maybe a splash pad, who knows?
All right. Any other business?
I have a business to bring up.
Yeah, sure.
I would like to bring up the idea of widening the Davis to Emmerich intersection. Because when you turn left onto like Emmerich, which going down Davis, there was a big dip on the side of the road, and the road is not wide enough for 2 cars. Plus, there's a bunch of trees and bushes there that blinds you, and you can't see a car coming at you till the very last second. And if a car whips around the corner, it's gonna hit you. And it's all the way down Emmerich. The road is not wide enough, and when there's a bunch of rain, there's this big puddle inside the road that if you go down, you're gonna get stuck in the puddle. So I think if we need to widen the Davis to Emmerich.
Any discussion on that?
Would it be necessary to do all of Emmerich, or would it be just like an intersection?
I would say all of Emmerich, mainly the intersection. I think if you take down the trees in the intersection, it would be fine with that intersection. But the whole entire Emmerich, all the turns, it's hardly wide enough for 2 cars. I know personally I have a pretty wide car, so my car's hard for like me and then like another truck coming at me. It's hard for us to both go through these roads at the same time. So I think if we just widen a couple feet on each side, it would be perfectly fine for at least 2 cars to go through.
Anyone else? Okay. I would like to open up the floor to comments from the citizens. Anything?
I'm Matt Klein, live at 32 Dewar Drive, and first like to compliment Mayor Brown and the council, City Manager Hurst, and Mr. Grafflin. This has been a very good class, very active class with a lot of great ideas. I have been keeping notes. There's probably nothing much that I would disagree with on anything that you've talked about, especially when it comes to the parks. I do have some concerns about a one-way on North, but Councilwoman Dorman brings up a great point. There is a very active business there, Skippers. That's something that we must take into consideration. So that's something that we'll take to our council to discuss. There are some concerns about a 4-way stop, but we'll look into it. I promise you that. I can announce that there is going to be a new mirror replaced. It's actually going to be a 55-inch mirror, so it's going to be much larger than the old one. The intersection that there was a traffic accident there was actually a, believe it or not, the driver going down South J got his feet caught between the brake and the gas and just couldn't stop. So it was really an accident, just not he knew he needed to stop, but it was just an accident. So that is the only accident that we've had there since I've been here. So even though there aren't statistics showing that it's a dangerous intersection, I don't disagree making the turn from South Dre onto, well, especially if you make the turn onto Market, is very difficult to do. But I'm excited about your ideas. I wish that council had all the money in the world, because we would be doing a lot of the things that you've talked about. I believe I will just call it a youth center is needed. We agree about skate park. We'd love to have a splash pad. We do have some concerns on some liability issues of the splash pad, but that's no big deal. Those can be taken into consideration. And also, our particular splash pad, I've been in other communities that we've created splash pads, and when the biggest concern or biggest cost is actually water. And where water is very cheap and inexpensive, it's a lot easier to have splash pad. Because you literally pump the water, it splashes up, and then it literally goes down the drain and goes away. So that's but when you have a community such as ours that has rather costly water, you actually have to have a tank. So it's literally a swimming pool. So you'd have to keep it chlorinated, which is a concern, especially if there's a little child in a dirty diaper, so to speak. So
Would
that's
it be
something
possible
concern.
to use a rain filtration system as the school does?
No. It has to be potable water.
Okay.
Because there's someone's going to drink it. Some little kid's going to have his mouth open. So you have to have potable, clean drinking water. But we'd like to have splash pad. Couple things that City Manager Hurst has spoken to. He's absolutely correct. We are understaffed. There's literally only 5 employees that do the service work. They'll not only do the service work, they do the water work, they do the wastewater work, they do the sewer work, they supply your streets and everything else. I have personal experience that a couple bad eggs can do some disgusting things in a public bathroom. And when you're undermanned, it becomes difficult to keep those clean. The thought that I had shared with the city manager is I would love to see a young business go down there, hot dogs, hamburgers, whatever, slushies, ice cream, you name it. And what I would want to do would have them also be in charge of the bathrooms. Heck, for that matter, they just leave the bathrooms open from the time they're there till the time they close. At least they would have bathrooms more available. So we don't disagree with that. Just it's the concern of the cost and not having the manpower to keep them and maintain them as cleanly as they should be. Love the idea of a golf tournament, a disc golf tournament. And I was just told the other day that one of the least regulated things in the state of Ohio that has hardly any regulations is a zip line. So go for it.
Yes. There you go. All right. Yeah. Anyone want to make a motion for adjournment?
I will.
All right.
Second.
All right. This meeting is adjourned.
Good job.